Welcome, wildflowers, you wild flowing spirits of the divine new earth. This is who you are. This is who you are. A lot of energy today. I invite you to presence yourself. Set down anything you brought that you don't need. You don't need to know what that is. Say it. Your prayers are powerful. Pray. Pray. When you pray, you're becoming the fierceness that hunts what you desire, and this to stop anything that stops you. To be granted this level of influence in spiritual space where your mind can cut through so precisely, you have to be deeply loving, compassionate towards those who suffer, both in and around you. In your presence, people change. You are someone who changes the world. To be an agent of change, to rewrite reality around you, is rarer than you might think. To be willing to do this is to be humble. It's not flipping things on a whim. You're not granted that. Any degree to which you dream of that, you are being taught to presence yourself within an imagination space that's actually quite small, where others like you who seek power over others as a mechanism to be full of yourself, to feel some degree of stability. If you strive to feel some degree of stability by dominating others, you'll be taught to dream your way into a kiddie pool that's murky and unpleasant, full of other people who think like that. Today, we're on the edge. There is an edge here that you may not recognize, and you need to know about it before you progress. It's likely you've been praying deeply, even passionately, to get deeper, and you won't be allowed to until you appreciate the presence of this edge. It's actually a very simple boundary, but to become aware of it necessitates becoming aware of all sorts of other lessons: the presence of power, influence, and pain. The pain of the contrast between what you have been and what you are choosing to become. Wait, you're not choosing to become? Are you not choosing to become intentionally? Are you still defining yourself in relation to your pain? Are you trying to create something that would kind of conceptually be free of pain? And yet it's so written in pain that you will never be free of your past. Oh, you don't think that's you. You don't think that you are praying this way. That's because you don't understand that you're praying. I invite you to appreciate you are praying, even when you're not doing it well. You're going on a hunt. What are you hunting for? It begins like this. There's a stream. This is one of the first videos I recorded. I used this story before I ever had a YouTube channel, and it remains one of the most important metaphors I could give you. There's a stream. It's been doing its thing for a long time, rippling this way and that. It doesn't have all that much strength to it. So it gets down to a little bank and it just goes around it. It meanders. A tree falls, crash, dams up part of the stream, and it goes down along the tree and then finds a little space beneath it, but further down. So a pool emerges. In the pool, the water doesn't move through the pool very well. It gets stopped up with gunk, some of the rotting tree branches that fall. A deer comes, drinks from this pool. It's sick water. And it gets sick. It dies right there. Its corpse starts to rot, part of the wreckage. And the stream meanders on. And then, after years and years and years, something changes. And I want you to be present with this something. Something changes. It starts to rain. It starts to rain more than it has in anyone's living memory. All the squirrels, all the birds, the other deer. The deer have been cautioning each other against drinking from this stream because their fellow got sick. They still remember that story, but they never remember this much rain. And the rain falls, and the rain falls, and it rolls down the hills, and the little tiny creeks that emerge, new, because there's never been this much rain before, and they're all filling down to the stream, and the stream begins to fill far beyond any level it's had before, and the pressure is so much higher that things start to move. Gunk gets stirred from the bottom. That pool gets whooshed to the surface. The deer carcass moves. The tree, the rotting tree, begins to move because the power of this stream cuts through the meandering banks and creates a much stronger, straighter path. And as it does, all this gunk is on the surface, and it's horrible. This creek looked beautiful. It had some nice foliage growing amidst the little tiny islands and curves of its path. Now there's gunk everywhere. Everything that has been rotten and stuck is on the surface, but it's moving. And as it moves, it blazes a deeper, stronger path, and this stream becomes a little river of power that has not existed in this valley before. And eventually, the gunk gets pushed out, and a fresh, strong path emerges with rich, clean, clear water. This is you. Something happened that made it rain. The first thing I want to tell you is you have a bit of a choice, because this something can happen from the outside or it can happen from the inside. Now, preferably, it's somewhat of both. The world is calling us. The world is calling us to awaken. Now, metaphors are dicey because we're trying to understand spirit, and spirit is neither water nor fire. That's why we're saying wild, flowing fire. Flower, one who flows with spiritual fire. But spirit itself is neither water nor fire. We're trying to understand something that is beyond the foundations of the way of life that we have known. In many of the cultures that we share, spirit was not a common dialogue. So we're trying to learn to embrace and appreciate the power of the dynamics of an essence that we were not taught as children in most cases. Now, in truth, many of us were taught as children, yet we were taught in unique ways, somewhat by ourselves. We gained access to hidden spaces, hidden realms. Is this you? You talked with spirits. You received messages from angels. You saw things that weren't there to other people. You had to learn to cope with a world that didn't believe in what you saw, what you recognized, what you sensed. Is this you? We are here to bring together these many sensory languages, the beauty, the gifts, the incredible blessings that you bring from having incubated such deep insight and the will to maintain your presence in spiritual space, whether or not you knew it by this name. Today, I'm going to take a yoga break at roughly 3333. I invite you to consider what you can do in a minute to 2 minutes to challenge yourself to raise your heart rate and explore getting better at something that you're not yet able to do. If you don't know how to do that, please visit our yoga channel, available in the description. Ask questions. There's a whole series of scaled videos that bring you from an introductory, even sitting in a chair level of yoga, all the way up to some of the harder practices that you'll find. You find that the harder practices aren't enough for you, you let me know, we'll make harder ones. I practice harder than I share. and I'm ready to take it to a next level as well. At 3333, we're going to take a yoga break. I invite you to consider what you will do. I know a lot about what it takes to survive in this world and thrive. The first hint is you can't just seek to survive. It's likely that many of you are accustomed, through no fault of your own, to simply seeking to survive as something of what you are. And yet, if you don't seek beyond survival, if you don't seek, if you don't aim, if you don't pray for better than that, you won't get it at all. You will live in relation to threat. You will live in relation to danger. And when you think and make your decisions with threat and danger as the foundation, as the canvas on which you paint your desires, you may not even be aware that you are making a profound choice to begin with threat and danger. Now be present with this, because this is where so many get stuck. It can be more painful to dream of love and then get hurt than it is to dream of safety. When you just dream of safety, you're living in caution all the time. So on a certain level, when a threat emerges, you're like, yep, you anticipated it. Maybe you even prepared in a certain way. And I'm inviting you to realize that the consequences of thinking of this in this way are profound. You don't want to do it like this. Yes, we'll be getting to aliens soon. So look, I invite you to realize that it's likely you've been afraid to pray for love, because when you're praying for love, you actually get it right away. Your prayer goes into motion. You become more vibrant. Now, you might not recognize it this way, but your perceptions broaden. Your sensations deepen. They gain color right away. Now, it still might be murky, so you don't necessarily experience this as an advancement. Indeed, heightened sensitivity gives you a heightened sensitivity to pain. How many of you experience pain on a regular basis? How many of you experience migraines on a regular basis? This is one of the most profound and consistent signs of repressed healing within people who are slated for wonderful things if you learn how to embrace it. I invite you to seriously consider joining our sanctuary. We have a membership space. The goal is to create a holistic health center, temple, school, all in one, where we unite our presence to build a community, a common unity. One of the most fundamental reasons people are sick, one of the most fundamental reasons people suffer, is because we lack community these days. Now, in this day and age in the United States, the breakdown of community is profound all around me. Very few organizations and subcultures seem to know how to keep themselves going in a way that embraces real community. What I mean by this is generations, multiple generations. Somehow we fractured reality with this idea that people are supposed to hang out with their age group. That's supposed to be a subset. That's supposed to be a committee within your community. You spend time with such, but that's not the foundation of any life. In your life, you need all generations, even if you don't have parents around, even if you don't have children, even if you aren't with a partner. You need connection with many different ways of being around you. And there are very few communities that do this. And as a result, in my country, we've got absurd levels of sickness as people try to give themselves things as pleasures through food and intoxicants and media consumption. You're trying to make up with truly detrimental patterns. You're trying to make up for things that you cannot possibly feed in these ways. Believe it or not, it is astonishing how much we can accomplish on the internet, building common unity together. It is a fundamental, perhaps the most fundamental step in health we can take. And blessedly, we're building on top of that, because this community, the Wildflower Sanctuary, you are a wild flowing fire. You are tuning to the wildness, to be a natural part of the earth. And the process to do this is deeply confusing, and you need support. In the sanctuary, we're developing the ability to support each other in believing in what we are together. To believe in what you are changes you from being an outlier within your common unity in the physical plane. And it is likely that many of you, if not most of you, are outliers. Even if you are loved and appreciated, you are not surrounded by other people who get you. I find it unlikely that many of you have the experience of being surrounded physically by people who get you. And if you are, please say so and celebrate it and share what works. Because many of us find that even in kind, loving communities of physical beings, and I have many kind, loving beings around me, and yet they don't fully get me. They appreciate me. They even like me a lot, but they don't see so much of what I see. And it is necessary to build strength and connection with others who can connect, relate, appreciate, learn with, learn from, teach to, heal with, heal from, and together face the healing that we need to do in the world. And with this, I suggest and invite you, thank you for being here. Thank you for your likes. I profoundly appreciate it. It helps. It helps to spread this to people who appreciate it. I invite you to consider people in your physical life, people who you know already, who might appreciate this common unity. I am not interested in pushing you to blast your friend circles through social media with this work. If you know that it'll go over well, please, thank you. We get a lot of shares. But what I'm most interested in is you intentionally inviting people to join us on the Tuesdays and even deeper if it suits you and them. Because the strength we gain by weaving together, by learning to create with each other, blesses all of us at once. It's an incredible gift to build this kind of connection and this kind of interplay. Interplay. We are creating light music. You play music. It needs to have this essence of playfulness woven into the essence of prayer. Together, we generate a new way of being that transcends a lot of what most of us were taught. So I'm going to say hi, and then we're going to shift into alien mode. And it's more necessary than you may think. You know what? Today, my vision is not going to work that way. I'm sorry to say it, but sometimes I'm tuned in a way that I just can't see clearly enough to read, and that's where I am right now. Thank you for being here, each of you. I really deeply appreciate your presence. I can feel it. We're heightening it. We've been drawing some boundaries recently that have been working very well. I feel it psychically. I feel everybody who even comes close to this channel psychically, and it comes in waves. And by making choices of what gets to be closer and what needs to stay at bay, we go a long way to clarifying what we can share in a way that you recognize as well. Many of you are so sensitive, you can feel this as well. I really appreciate what we're doing lately. Let's keep growing with it. So here's the threshold, folks. It is your natural state of being to have what is essentially a telepathic translator. Now, there's a video I made years ago called the Telepathic Translator. You can look it up on the channel. It's not that complicated a phenomenon. It's daunting to accept how true it is. But the reason it's so true is because there is a fundamental universal language. It's kind of simple. It's based in an appreciation of spiritual physics. Now, you chose to forget this language. I know that's kind of daunting to accept, but you know it's true if you tune in. You chose to forget this. You chose to go through the most ridiculous engagement of forgetting in order to be in a body. And by being in a body, you get a chance to start over in a new way. We've talked about this repeatedly. Today, we're going to address it in a slightly different angle. You are set to reclaim your universal translator. Now, what this does is it draws something in your mind. So initially, you cannot tell the difference between your own thoughts and thoughts that you are receiving in relation to other beings. And that's good. You need the privacy. The challenging aspect of this is you've always been thinking with other beings, most of them in your family. Those of you who have developed relationships that are close with other people who you've grown up with, you've been thinking with each other. But you haven't necessarily been translating a lot of that into words. It's because you've been using a certain rudimentary, low-level universal translator. And what this is about is you come closer, you recede. You shift, you retune. You get anxious, you focus. You hold, you release. All in rhythms. This is a music of light. These things are meaningful. They carry meaning. And the more effectively you are able to spend time near another being of any sort, the more your spirit innately knows how to translate what their actions, choices, rhythms, shifts, stillness, aggression, what these forces mean. In order to fully turn your translator on, you need to recognize that it exists and that it is an innate capacity to communicate with other beings in this way. And yet, as soon as you do, as soon as this becomes normal, it's a death to who you used to be. And this death is very aligned with the rain. The rain from the metaphorical stream that becomes a river at the beginning of this video. In this, to open yourself to an awareness that you are witnessed by many beings all the time is a daunting proposition. We have spent entire 2-hour class times on this. If you look at some of the earlier classes, we used to do 2-hour classes, and we spent 2 hours on this, just learning to allow yourself to be transparent. Because in so many ways, many people are like this. They're like the little kid that covers their eyes and thinks that they can't be seen. Spiritually, we are like this. It's a daunting proposition. You're witnessed, and you're witnessed far more nakedly than you probably want to be at first. And I'm here to invite you to want it. You want to be seen, because the more capable beings, the more evolved presences on the earth see you with eyes of love. If you don't see through eyes of love, you don't see as much. It's kind of funny. There's this built-in mechanism. It's not fail-safe, but it's deep. When you see with eyes of loving compassion, you see much more. So to sit in your life and just accept there are already other beings that watch me and they see so much. They see the densities that are stuck in your system. They see the potential that's trying to emerge. They see the surges of life that are trying to push you in one direction. They see the threat that you prepare for in your energetic presence. They see these stories. They exist vibrantly. You want to know how I know? Because I see these things. Following this class time, we gather. Wildflowerfire.com sanctuary. There's a meeting group. You can join it. Now, this is the welcome center for the sanctuary. So when you come, we're inviting you to become members. But you come, we film us doing readings on you. We're calling them lightning sessions. I am reading your energy, and I see so much. I see all the things I just described to you and more. And when you say yes, I see even more. So I see the things I just described to you on anyone I focus on. It's naked. It's in our energy field. There's nothing you can do about it until you understand it's happening. So even if you want more privacy, you need to appreciate how this works in order to gain more privacy. I don't want to make you paranoid. The primary thing I want to teach you is if beings don't see you with eyes of love, they don't see nearly as much. And the beings that taught me these see a lot more than I do. The guides, the guardians of the earth, who are very present with the human form, the dynamics of our species, were created by some of them. They created these bodies. They created the potential. I'm sorry, Darwin isn't real in the way you think. They ran the I don't want to say simulations, but that is a closer metaphor than many you will get. They ran the process that evolved these bodies, but it was intentional. They were guiding it. They were drawing it in certain directions to create certain possibilities that we live out. So they understand so much about how these bodies work and how our energy works in relation to these bodies and a conscious life. They see you already. Now, why are we saying this when we're talking about aliens? Partly because I'm trying to get your attention. More because you need to know the difference between guides and guardians of the earth and extraterrestrial beings. Now, I know there's a little bit of a don't call them aliens. You don't need to project in this way. Even the ones that object to this, they can handle it. They traveled through space and time to be here. The reason it's crucial that you delineate an us and them in this case is because we need to learn to stop making these us and thems within the human race and even within mortal beings on the earth. Truly, you need to completely divest, withdraw your energy from creating the idea of alien between you and someone else, some other human. Because the root presence that needs to delineate a deeper difference is between you as a being who has chosen to incarnate on the earth and those beings who have not chosen to incarnate on the earth. It's really this simple, but you need to believe it in order to embrace it and get deeper into appreciating what's actually happening. These beings have not forgotten. They have not let go of their universal translator, and they can talk to you. And they will talk to you. Now, make no mistake, this is beyond good and evil. That's daunting to say, but it's true. This is beyond good and evil. If you connect with a being out there in space, it's because they can see you. If they can see you, it's because you're generating energy in relation to energy that they exist with. If you are generating energy in relation to energy that they exist with, there is relevance between your reality and their reality. Now, you might want to listen to that sequence a couple more times. The depth of the power of this is profound. If you have an aspect of yourself that is existing on frequencies that you do not recognize, you need to become conscious of this force. So in a very real way, when an extraterrestrial being starts talking to you on frequencies you don't fully understand, you need to treat it as a fundamental calling to get to know yourself better. Why are they able to talk to you there? Why are they able to connect with you in this way? It is most likely because you are generating a part of yourself without being conscious that you are generating this part of yourself. That's your shadow. And you need to be conscious of all of yourself in order to access a wide range of potential, possibility, joy, love, hope, passion, power, presence, compassion for other beings. And thus, when you open yourself to recognize that a wide range of beings are here, you need to appreciate how wide that range is. There are beings from all over the galaxy approaching us right now. Just think of it with galaxy. You don't need to think about other galaxies. You really don't. You really don't. I know it's tempting, but don't do it. It's just exhausting, universe people. Be present with the galaxy because there is a unique set of frequencies around what we call the Milky Way. When you're aware of this, you can appreciate that we've got so many different, essentially, networks of energetic connection between Sol, our sun, and the Earth and other star systems. This is enough, okay? It's enough to add to your repertoire of reality, and it's a good place to focus because the Earth is essentially like a giant crossroads for energy. You're not going to become aware of all of it at once. You won't. You don't want to. Not a chance. Too much. What you want is to learn. By the way, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Bless you. Thank you for sharing. By the way, to learn this is to know something in a way that will give you leverage over better choices. So I'm inviting you to recognize this fundamental distinction between beings that are here connected from other stars and beings that are committed here. They're not in mortal human form. They're guides and guardians of the earth. These are the beings I most consciously invite you to connect to on purpose. Now, if this is not your intention, that is a choice. I'm inviting you to realize that you can talk to extraterrestrial beings far more effectively if you know yourself well enough as a human who's chosen to incarnate on the earth. To know yourself as a human who's chosen to incarnate on the earth is to cherish this experience because you chose it. Just be in this as an abstract challenge from a certain perspective with all the different things you could have done, all the ways of being you could have explored, all the places you could have visited, all the different bodies you could have incarnated around. You chose to be here. Get yourself into remembering why. It starts with you made this choice. Cherish it. And reach out to those who can teach you why. Because I assure you, the extraterrestrial beings who visit you and talk with you now, they're kind of here like at a career fair. They're visiting. They're showing you a broad range of reality, and they're resonating in a way that reaches out to connect with you. But the beings who know what it is to be here, they see far more of what you are. They know far more about what is possible. And they are much closer to being able to remind you who you were before you came and who you were trying to become by visiting here. $32.15. All right, let's get ready. I want you to think of a challenge. Anything could be a challenge. Doing 5 squats is a challenge. Squatting deeper so you get down on your heels is a challenge. You want to challenge yourself at the edge of what you're capable of doing. And it matters far more that you challenge yourself at your edge than you compare yourself to anybody else. The comparisons are soft. They're here to help you illuminate what's possible. But you do not want to make them the centerpiece of what you are and what you do. You want to get really good at knowing yourself. Because when you know yourself, you can get your heart rate up. You can find some joy by exploring what you're capable of today, now, in 2 minutes. And you leave happier, which means you want to do it again. If you're drawn by abstract mental challenges, you're never going to be in tune with your limits well enough to appreciate each step. Be in tune with your limits enough to appreciate each step. I'm on a step that I keep thinking I shouldn't try to show you because I'm not good enough at it. But I've made enough progress that I think it might be curious to show. So I hope I can pull a little bit of this off. And that worked a little better than I expected. I'm not just aiming to be capable of things. I'm aiming to be fun. I'm aiming to be joyful. I'm aiming to do it on the sidewalk. I'm aiming to do it like this because I'm in a body. The more I tell you how much I remember, the more I remember even more. Now, you're ready. You're ready. You're ready to take the next step in this journey. And wherever it is, you're ready to discover what the next step is. You want to know how it starts? Ask. What's your quest? What's your quest? Ask. Ask what you're ready for and do it a little louder. Because the secret is Earth guides and guardians are present, Earth guides and guardians are present in a way that watches. They watch patterns. There are 8 billion humans. They're watching patterns of who's lifting up your flow, who's lighting up your fire, who's flowing with the fires of the presence of the world that's trying to be born. It's not about ultimate achievements. I want to do 10 good nose to the floor handstand push-ups. I'm going to get there. It's not about ultimate achievements. It's about choosing achievements as goals that push you. The fire flows when you get yourself flowing. The fire is flowing in a similar way to when I started yoga. When I started yoga, I was doing what I needed as medicine to evolve myself. I was liberating the presence within myself and bringing coherence into it. Now, as you stay with this practice, the challenge recedes. It gets more difficult, deeper, but it also gets more natural and more fun. You're ready. You're ready. What are you ready for? Whatever, I am talking to a long list of people who I can almost promise you are afraid of what you're capable of. We are not afraid of our greatest fears. We are afraid of our greatest light. We are most afraid of our greatest light. Ultimately, because it is daunting to bring the presence of the rain of love through you into the world. It is an incredible responsibility. You have to become able to respond to the presence and power of the love that flows through you. The lessons are inherent in the act of saying yes. You will begin to be guided and taught how to be the kind of person you're capable of being by saying yes. I was woken up in the night last week with the phrase first starting, say yes. I was woken up by a member of my soul family. I know enough of the members of my soul family to be in communication with them telepathically on a regular basis. And it is a beautiful thing. The more you trust it, the more it works. You make mistakes at first, but here's the beauty of this. And I'm going to teach you one of the best life lessons about partnership in the same frame that I teach you an incredible telepathic spiritual soul family lesson. Love. Love. Love, 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 love. Do it. It's an action. Love is an action. Love is an action. It's a noun. It's a verb. It's an adjective. It's all of it. It's a preposition too. Love. You're aiming for a relationship. Love. You're afraid that you're loving in a way that got you hurt in the past. Love some more. If you aim for deep love, if you share the deep love you truly want to share, you'll get it. You might not get it with the person in front of your face. It takes a deep discernment to find someone who can grow with you. And I do encourage you to aim for love that can grow with you. Don't aim for lists of statistics or traits or attitudes or skills. These things are secondary. Aim for love that can learn and grow with you. And then love the one you're with. Love the person you're with. Be present with the people around you and love them. Love them deeply And when you doubt how to love them, pray. Love is the question. How can I love you? Love is not an answer. Not yet. Love is a question. Love is an answer when you understand that love is a question. Love is the answer when you understand that love is an open-ended question of how to love. This is how soul family works. This is how your soul family works. And if you don't know how to believe right now, say yes. Say yes. Your soul family came to earth with you. Your soul family loved you before you were on earth. That's the simple version. Some of them are not incarnate and some of them are, most likely. It's not true of everybody, but it's most common. Your soul family loved you before you were here. So if you're in doubt about whether someone in your life is soul family, treat them like they were, and you will find those who were. Now, you might discover you make a mistake for years. You're like, this is my soul family. This is my twin flame. Treat them that way, and you will eventually discover whether it's true or not. But have the courage to love them as deeply as you can. It's the best way to find a partner, and it's the best way to find your soul family. You put yourself in the love of it. Because when you have a hint that it's real, that hint is the closest you are ready to be. You are ready. You're ready. And notice what we've done here. I'm telling you that some extraterrestrial beings are your friends already. They knew you before you were here. I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear. We are currently going through an incredible cultural transformation where I suggest that within the next 10 years, we're going to have what we could call full disclosure. There is so much information on the table already, and there's only more coming out. Go subscribe to Kaiya.com. They have so much info on what's happening here. People just don't know how to incorporate it yet into mainstream reality. A month or so ago, I got a channeling about how to relate to aliens when they arrive. The next week was covered in alien sightings all up and down the east coast of the United States. You know what the government did? They flew a ton of drones to distract everybody. Truly, that's what they did. And they did it on purpose. It's necessary. Some people are just not capable of handling the intensity of the truth yet. It fries their mind. 25 years ago, I got, back in my day, you little peoples, I could do handstand push-ups. Yeah, almost. Back in my day, 25 years ago, I was on one of the first online mainstream web-based discussion boards called plastic.com. It was based on Slashdot, which is an open source community. Really vibrant. It was all text-based talk, but it was incredible. It was like the first time you could reach out on that level and just find other people who were interested in the same things that you're interested in. An incredible change in consciousness. And I went whoosh off on it. And I met a guy who told a story about learning how to be telepathic. And I heard his story and I felt the presence and I opened and I had an experience and it blasted my mind open. And I got mad at him. I was like, you got to be more careful with the stories you tell. And it was a huge lesson for me because he was funny in response. He's like, wow, I'm glad to know I could affect you so deeply. And he kindly and very graciously sort of pointed out, he can't control how it affects me. That's up to me. I've got to be present with how I am impacted. I have to take responsibility for that. But in that moment, I was aware of the daunting threshold that occurs when you learn to embrace the fact that telepathy and extraterrestrial beings are real. I went on to learn about a research study that was being done. It was being done with DMT. Now, DMT in many ways it's an essential element of life. It's released at birth and death when you do ayahuasca and when you find the exceptional concentrated form. I'm not advising anybody for or against this, but there was a study done with it, and an absurd number of people who did concentrated doses of this had a very similar experience. And the researchers couldn't explain it, but I immediately got the answer as to why. They had the experience of being taken by a group of aliens and given an anal probe. And as soon as I heard it, I read I was reading about it. And as soon as I heard it, I read this description, and they were really, they didn't know how to handle what they were hearing from people, because people were just talking about the most vivid experience of this happening. They didn't know how to incorporate it, and they're describing these hallucinatory experiences in archetypal form. And what I got was very clear coming from this telepathic source. They experience what they expect to experience. When you cross the threshold first, you're crossing with your expectations in front of you. That's why the greatest control, the greatest influence you have over this process is to work very honestly with your expectations. When you cross the threshold to begin to experience these interconnections with beings, both on the earth and beyond, your expectations are leading you, and it's likely that your expectations are heavy. Now, make no mistake, you can't make it through certain veils with too many heavy expectations, but you can make it through some. So your influence is to address your expectations honestly and question them. Because when you're trying to understand something that's beyond the limits of everything you've known just within this lifetime, you're going to build up a sense of what it's going to be. And if you consistently engage that expectation and just kind of chill it out and learn to be comfortable with not knowing, then maybe you can hear the foundations. The foundations are broad. There's no alien species that needs to give you an anal probe. It is not necessary. It is easy to see right through you. They are not particularly interested in such things. The small subsets of beings who might fit into those categories, let's just say they're more strongly motivated by kind of messing with you than really learning that way. And even that is, to a degree, a gift, because they are engaging your expectations. They're connecting with your expectations, which allows the investment you put into expecting to be sustained. Now, if that doesn't make sense, listen to this section again. It's a powerful lesson in how spirit works. You invest in expectations. You invest in your expectations. You invest in them. Once you've made that investment, to just cut it off and let it float away like a balloon, it's like, oh, shit. You spent years building that investment. It's my job to convince you to appreciate your investment has presence. It matters. It literally matters. It becomes more present. Over time, your vibrational buildup of expectation has more existence in relation to the material plane, denser spirit. So if another species, we can't even use such terms, if another range of beings connect with those expectations and help you live them out, they're actually helping you extend yourself beyond the boundaries if you can make the transition to realize what they're doing. And here I am explaining it to you ahead of time. Find me someone else explaining the shit to you. Damn. Ooh. All right, that's enough on that theme. The real conclusion is, come here, down, get in your body, do some yoga. You chose to be here. Make it awesome. You chose to be here. Make it awesome. The way you live your life here is going to frame the way you live your life somewhere else anyway. If you're trying to it hurts so much, understand you're cutting loose a lot more than expectations. Your investment, your karmic investment in being human is not going to just dissolve because you leave. If you are praying to leave the earth because it's hurt so much, you're just going to carry your shadow with you where you go next. Some jackass teacher has gotten a lot of attention lately, trying to say there's no such thing as cosmic karma. There's nothing but cosmic karma. It's momentum. The momentum of your presence of being in one form and then trying to change into another form. You can't just go from here to Jupiter and be the kind of being that exists there consciously. You have to go through a transition. And the secret truth is there's a lot in between that makes it possible for you to visit, but not necessarily be present. If you want to learn to be present somewhere, be present where you are. If you ever leave, the blessings that you get from having invested in being present while you're here that's what you'll carry with you. Monks do not make mandalas in order to create an ends. It's the entire purpose. Some of the deep teachings of these Buddhist traditions that make mandalas, excruciatingly beautiful artwork made out of little grains of sand. They take these bowls of colored sand and they place them, just to have the waves wash them away. They don't do it to make an end. They do it to develop the patience and presence to create. You are making a mandala. It's you. It's this body. This body it's alone. You're going to give this back. What shape are you going to give it in? What you retain is not your body. It's the energy you invested in how you lived your life. You're going to spend your life resenting the people who've hurt you? That's an investment. Resentment is an investment. There's a reason. If you type in forgiveness, 2/3 of you need to do this. Type in forgiveness on YouTube and start making a quest of learning about it. There's a reason this is one of the most commonly necessary spiritual lessons. It is a foundational lesson. If you resent the people who hurt you, you're not making yourself safe. Now, forgiveness is not naivete. It doesn't mean walk right into the same situation and do it again. Not at all. Forgiveness means I am not going to carry resentment towards those who hurt me, but I will see them honestly. When people who show me who they are, I do my best to believe them. Now, at this point in my path, I hold a lot of patient space. Some of you all have given me migraines. Some, plural, have given me migraines. And some of you, I've put up with it because I'm holding space for you to transition, because I see something in you. And it's part of my dharma, my dharmic path, to teach and heal through some of these experiences. I'm not being naive when I suggest that sometimes it's better to move through suffering than to live your life constantly avoiding it. But you don't move through suffering in order to move through suffering. You move through suffering because you're aiming for love. And if you keep trying to love in a way that doesn't work, where you just generate the same kind of suffering over and over again, have the courage to recognize that it's not loving to stay in such a way. There's no simple answer that beats that. Love is a question. Love is the question of how to love in any given circumstance. And if you need a mental answer too quickly, you're going to get sidetracked. You've left the question if you're trying to hold to a mental answer more than you hold the question. You can hold a question so tightly. You can grip to a question. You can return to a question again and again and again when you get confused about how to proceed. And a question will give you different practical responses day to day. A question is a quest. It's a hunt. It's a prayer. It's a search for the healthy way through the challenges that you're invested in. Please invest in the challenges that bring you closer and deeper with love. I like it. We've done good today. Pretty soon, we're going to shift over to the sanctuary. I'm going to take a little break before then. Ideally, we start at 11. Sometimes I'm a bit late, but people arrive and they share. Please join. We are filming readings. 5 people or so will get readings. We publish 3 of them. We choose based on what feels best, most appropriate. This is going to be a new thing over the course of the next several months. We're going to do our best to make it weekly, lightning sessions, 10 minutes where we go on a quest to help heal you as best we can. When you agree to be witnessed in this way, it's like supercharged. You're on the hot seat, and it can really deepen and amplify your healing process. You're giving back to us by being witnessed in a way that we can share on the channel, but you're receiving much more by the courage to expose yourself in this way. So don't do it lightly, but do it. Do consider joining, watching. You don't have to raise your hand to say you want to have a session, and everybody doesn't get it. But the gifts of being seen in these depths in this way can greatly amplify your journey if you bring the trust and the courage to accept the love. Wildflowerfire.com, Sanctuary. I'll see you soon. There's something I'm missing. Somebody's trying to give me something I don't want. You keep you, I keep me. Even if you see the best in me, that's not necessarily the best for me. Your version of the best, like if you say this guy's better than this, this, and this, I think I probably am. If you say that to yourself, you're generating a concept of me, and then you're giving me that. And it's like, it's the best you know. It is genuinely the deepest gesture of respect you could give me. The problem is, it's not necessarily in harmony with who I really am. So please don't take offense if I don't embrace your deepest gifts too quickly, because in many cases, people try to give me their own best essence. And I'm really here saying, I love you. I love you so much. I'm not going to accept that. I'm going to help you hold your best yourself. And if you can't see how awesome that is, damn, that. I love you. See you soon.